Hey, what's up, everybody? Of course, welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast, the place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, meets movies, as well as inspiration. Of course, I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media. Excuse me, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter/X at 301 King Von Jr. You can also follow the show's Twitter/X page at Victory Pod 1. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. On Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. Repeat that. You can also follow the show's Instagram page at Victorious Ones Podcast. I'm also the social media producer for the Unpopular Reviews wrestling show Perfect Plex Talk Radio, of course, on Mondays at 6 p.m. And hosted by our friend of the program, Mike Knox. And of course, like I said, quite a plethora, if you will, of news lined up for this week. Whether it's, like I say, whether it's in the world of sports, especially, and of course, first and foremost, of course, my thoughts and prayers go out first and foremost to Chris Bay. TNA's very own Chris Bay, who just suffered a very pretty devastating injury, and so of course, they've already set up a GoFundMe account for him and for his recovery or surgery. But yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. And, of course, without further ado, I definitely want to start off with, just get the particulars out the way when it comes to NFL Week 8 scores. Now, of course, this past week was Week 8. And, of course, on Thursday, October 24th, the Rams defeat the Vikings 30-20. Of course, of course, in that game, Matthew Stafford passed Dan Marino. It's been like 8th all-time in completions. I never even realized that, But of course, on Sunday, the Packers defeat the Jaguars 30-27. The Cardinals defeat the Dolphins 28-27. The Patriots defeat the Jets 25-22. Browns defeat the Ravens, surprisingly 29-24. Of course, the Eagles crushed the Bengals 37-17. Of course, the Texans beat the Colts 23-20. The Lions just smashed the Titans 52-14. The Lions are on a mission right now. They're on a warpath at this point. The Falcons defeat the Buccaneers 31-26. Chargers defeat the Saints 26-8. 31-26. Defeat the Buccaneers. I'm pretty sure, my man Josh wasn't too happy about that the day after his birthday. It's a Bucs fan, by the way. But of course, like I said, the Chargers defeat the Saints 26-8. Bills defeat the Seahawks 31-10. Washington Commodores or Commanders, I call them, defeat the Bears 18-15 with a huge Hail Mary pass from Jaden Daniels. It was definitely a game of bragging rights between him and Caleb Williams, the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft. So that was definitely a premier game. Of course, the Chiefs defeat the Raiders 27-20. Broncos defeat the Panthers 28-14. I knew this was coming. The 49ers defeat the Cowboys 30-24. And of course, the Steelers defeat the Giants 26-18. So that is your week in football as far as Week 8 is concerned. And of course, as it was reported, of course, the Dodgers are up 3-1 in the World Series. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling for the Dodgers in the series right now. I meant to bring that up as far as this past Friday. Matter of fact, this past Friday's impromptu episode that I just did. We would happen to be Game 1 of the World Series, and so right after I finished this recording, like I said, right after I finished last week's episode, I went to TGI Fridays, TGI Fridays to watch the World Series, to watch Game 1. Of course, at the same time, the Knicks had their season opener against the Pacers. It's dominated them, by the way. So like I said, I saw like the earlier part of Game 1 at Fridays, and then when I got back home, I saw the rest. And the Dodgers are looking brilliant. Shout out to my man Freddie Krueger Freeman right now, who's definitely definitely been the Yankees' worst nightmare with that grand slam walk-off home run in Game 1, where he held the bat like a sword. And then of course the Dodgers, have been dominating ever since. And now they're 3-1. So we're going to see them, of course, finish the story, if you will. Like say, at least hopefully have a jumbo sweep. But yeah, like I say, of course, the Dodgers did not come to play in anybody's face, and it's definitely something great to see. So I would not be surprised if Freeman ends up becoming the World Series MVP. So of course that's it when it comes to World Series news. And also, I meant to before I go any further, Disney Plus just made some announcements for new content. Of course, that Deadpool versus Wolverine is going to come on Disney Plus in November. Then they've also announced there's a Daredevil Born Again. They also have the Marvel Zombies series. They also have the Wonder Man series as well. So that's just in regards to like the future 2025 lineup, of Marvel content, especially as we're starting to gear up more and more for like stuff such as like as far as like Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars and just seeing how this plan unfolds, if you will. But yeah, like I said, of course, when it comes to that, and like I'm very excited for for what's in store, and of course in that aspect. So without further ado, I definitely want to go into the other week of wrestling because I know there's going to be a lot of wrestling news, coming up pretty soon. So now starting off with Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, we see Cody Rhodes and Gunther have had a few confrontations since their showdown was announced, and of course they come face to face. Once again to build up this match, and of course we saw Carmelo Hayes and Andrade continue their feud with Game 7, of their best of 7 series, which took place on Friday night. And we'll go into that in a minute. Of course, kicking off SmackDown, we see Randy Orton talking to Triple H backstage before he made his way to the ring to kick off this past Friday's SmackDown. Of course, Corey Graves said Nick Aldis refused to give Orton a match with Kevin Owens because it was above his pay grade. Especially with the way Kevin Owens assaulted Orton backstage. And so of course you can tell that the Viper definitely had enough of it. So of course a pissed off Orton, as we all know, is definitely not one to play with, not one to trifle with. So he asked his longtime 20-year friend, the game Triple H, to come out and explain why he wouldn't get a match against KO at Crown Jewel. And he accused Triple H of protecting Owens, but Triple said he was doing it. Actually, as a matter of fact, Triple H, turned the tables on him and said that he was actually doing that to protect Randy Orton from Kevin Owens. And so, and of course, I like how Triple H pretty much, sort of made Orton break character by bringing up how Orton shouldn't, seeing how Orton shows up to work late. So I thought that was, fun, kind of like tongue-in-cheek, little inside joke between them. But of course, that's before they got serious and got down to business and saying that that Randy accused Triple H of protecting Kevin Owens. But of course, Triple saying that he was actually doing his friend a favor by protecting him from KO. And of course, there's definitely a long discussion. Of course, called back to to their friendship of 20 years ever since the days of Evolution. And so of course, Randy pleaded with Hunter to let him handle business the way he's always had in the past. So Triple H finally agreed to give him the match. But he told the Viper to watch his own back. And as a matter of fact, we haven't seen Orton that triggered on the mic like that, in quite a while. And the Yankees, Aaron Judge has hit a 2-run home run as of this recording right now. So it's definitely got heat up. So we definitely see how the Dodgers respond right now. Of course, as of this recording. But yeah, it's just like, of course, Randy Orton definitely fired the crowd pretty fast. And it's funny how much bigger he is than Triple H, now, when back in the day he used to be the opposite. And that's what I've said about Randy Orton and Batista, how much bigger Orton is compared to Batista when back in 2004 it was, like I said, that was a complete total opposite. Like Batista, Orton were the ones that were super duper juiced up. I know Orton, Batista, and Triple H were the ones that were super duper juiced up, and Orton, was like super thin, super skinny. You know what I mean? Like see, Orton was pretty much like almost built like Gambit, just about. So this dude went from being built like Gambit to look like Cable. Orton went from being safety to being a defensive end. you know. So yeah, so like I said, once again, it's just like how much larger he looked compared to Triple H. This is unreal. I still can't. Like I said, every time I see him, I still can't like process it right now. Like this is like real life. This can't be Earth 616 Randy Orton that we're looking at. This is got to be like Earth 2 or something. You know what I mean? And but yeah, but anyway, as a matter of fact, as I said before, somebody said the Orton, reminded them of YouTube from Pokemon. It's just like I can't unsee that now. You know. Next up, we have Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. It's pretty much like Game 7, if you will, with LA Knight being being the guest referee. And so of course, this match ends in a no contest. Of course, especially when LA Knight kept getting involved in this match when Carmelo accidentally kicked him out the ring after a few close calls. The LA Knight yanked him out the ring, slammed his helmet on the announce table. Andrade ended up getting special guest ref's face. Of course, LA Knight hit him with the BFD, and of course he hit Carmelo Hayes a moment later, and then won the belt himself before declare himself the winner. So of course this definitely was a match with an ending that nobody wanted. And so of course everybody wanted to see like I said, Game 7, a final winner, but this is definitely not the type of ending anybody wanted to see, myself included. You know what I mean? And of course, next up we have Naomi versus Candice LeRae, and of course the winner of this match is Naomi. And of course we had Indy Hartwell getting involved, and Bailey ran down to take her out. Naomi used that distraction to pin Candice LeRae for the win. Of course, like I said, you win Naomi. Then we have DIY versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Clearly, there are people who are not all that impressed with the Motor City Machine Guns. There are plenty of people online who feel like the Machine Guns came maybe 10 years too late. But of course, those are Nick Aldis's buddies. Definitely want to make sure they look strong. Of course, before that, we had Gunther and Cody Rhodes having another face-to-face meeting this week to discuss their Open Crown Jewel Championship match. It wasn't too much different. Of course, Cody lost school and attacked Gunther, and Kaiser showed up to help as a leader of the ring general. The one ran down to make the save and ran off Imperium. Of course, that led into the upcoming match after both teams won the qualifying match last week. DIY took on Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley in the contenders match. And of course, kind of match a lot of fans thought it would be impossible for a long time. So to see DIY face the MCMG Motor City Machine Guns was a bit of a dream match for a certain number of fans, or for a certain section of fans on the internet. So of course, we saw Alex Shelley and Johnny Gargano have a quick exchange of reverses and holds. And of course, they shook hands before Ciampa tagged in. But of course, the thing is, they both use their standard style of double team offense. It's clear that that Machine Guns definitely influenced DIY a lot when it came to the chemistry, and it's just that the difference between them was just Ciampa's level of aggression once he got angry. Of course, either team could have won, and fans would have been happy, but obviously there's a miscommunication, which led to Gargano super kicking Ciampa, and so it's definitely the door that opened up for the Machine Guns, to end up winning. And so of course, we definitely see seeds being planted for DIY's breakup on the main roster, as we've seen on NXT. Of course, we see Lin-Manuel Miranda, of course, sitting in the crowd. And of course, that was the star of Hamilton, and the guy the greater Hamilton himself. And of course, he also dressed up as Dominic for Halloween as well. So of course, Bianca Belair and Jay Cargill were told they'll be defending the women's tag titles in a fatal four-way match at Crown Jewel during the backstage segment. And so of course they'll be defending against Damage Control, Lash Legend, Jakara, as well as Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. So it's a fatal four-way tag match for the women's tag titles. Excuse me. But yeah, of course, moving on. Then we have Tama Tonga Loa versus the Motor City Machine Guns, and of course we see the winners. Of course the winners and new WWE tag team champions, Motor City Machine Guns. Of course, after they defeated DIY. So of course, like I said, the Machine Guns were the number one contenders, and then later on they take the titles away from the team of Bloodline of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. And first and foremost, they came and introduce themselves to Shelly and Sabin. And of course, this ended up leading the Machine Guns asking for the title shot right now. So, of course, Nick Aldis called reference to the ring. Match got started. Of course, Jimmy Uso showed up and attacked Solo Sikoa and checking fought to the ringside. Roman Reigns soon joined his cousin. They fought on the stage. They ended up fighting on the stage as the match continued. So, of course, somebody, a masked superstar, if you will, came out and took out the tag champs with the chair while the ref was down. Of course, that masked superstar ended up being Jey Uso. Of course, Sabin and Shelly took advantage of the situation and scored the win to become the new tag team champions. So we finally saw, the Usos, really just the Bloodline themselves, just reunite. And so of course that concludes, that concludes as far as concludes my coverage when it comes to SmackDown. And so, like I said, it was great to see Jey Uso finally finally wake up and you know what, it's time to reunite. So of course everybody was waiting for that. So that was definitely like a missing piece when it comes to this OG Bloodline reuniting situation. And of course we're going to see that the aftermath and the fallout of that when it comes to someone in that Raw. But before I do that, make sure I do things in order. This past Saturday was NXT's Halloween Havoc. And of course, the headliner match was none other than this past Sunday. Was Halloween Havoc. Of course, the headliner was none other than Trick Williams versus All Ego Ethan Page. And I want to give a shout out to Deep. I want to give a shout out to the Devon, Reverend Devon, in this case. When Trick Williams, did his own, like the thing, NXT is all about pretty much all about dissing each other. Especially with the way that Trick Williams is a master when it comes to dissing his opponents, whether it was from Pete Dunne, and this time, it happens to be Ethan Page, and so Ethan Page, his diss to Trick was, of course, inspired by Freddy Krueger, 1, 2, things coming for you, that type of thing. And then Trick clashed back with, with the video where he has Devon as the Reverend, and was a set, like the video takes place, and it's like, it's in a church, and so of course Devon's preaching, he's got the choir behind him. He's like, one day I had a vision that my brother Trick was going to whoop Ethan and keep the NXT championship. And so, and of course, I like the way that the Trick rapped over Kurt Franklin's Revolution, right? And so I was like, and the video was hilarious. And so it's just to see Trick, anytime you mix Kurt Franklin with Devon, it's a recipe for success. It's hilarious too. And it was much needed as well. You know what I mean? And Trick was definitely it's definitely a guy that was chosen for that assignment. Trick's whole job was to stomp the devil out of Halloween Havoc, and that he did. You know what I mean? And so I was like, yeah, Team Trick all day, man. Trick Williams is in the GOAT conversation for the NXT champions. I don't care what anybody else says. Like I said, especially when it comes to entertainment value, I say, yeah, like I said, Trick is a millennial like I am, 5 years apart. And so, of course, like me, like me, a guy like that was raised off Kirk Franklin. So of course you mix Kirk Franklin and Devon, it's like perfect match right there. So of course, as far as that was, like I said, leading up to Halloween Havoc, and then now going to, like I said, the show itself. And so of course, I'm gonna get, of course, the rundown for the card. The North American Championship match, which was tables, ladders, and scares match, with Tony D'Angelo defending against Obafemi, and the winner by pinfall to retain the North American Championship was none other than the Don himself, Tony D'Angelo. So by way of help from the family, D'Angelo was able to, was able to put Obafemi down for the count once again. And so of course, on top of that, sorry about that. But yeah, like I said, of course, because we had Stax Lorenzo and Luca Crucifini hit a wild steel chair. Like I said, this steel chair assisted Shadow Machine Obafemi from losing the match, and for of course for Tony D'Angelo to retain the championship. So the NXT North American title stays within the family, and then there's also been rumors that Obafemi could be heading to the main roster. I mean, he's definitely like a guy like that. Definitely got dollar signs tied to him. But I would think that you at least keep him a little bit longer just so he can add the NXT Championship to his resume. Of course, that'd be Trick's biggest challenge ever as champion. Unless you don't want to, unless you want to keep Trick farther away from him, so just a Trick could continue his run as NXT champion, just add more. Just continue to build him up as champion. So, like I said, going against Hogan, that's a huge roadblock in itself. Next up, we have Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade versus Julia and Stephanie Valkyrie, and winners, of course, by way of pinfall, Stephanie Valkyrie and Julia. This is Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. So of course, like I said, this is a pretty good match, which could have been great actually. Considering who's in this match, just considering like what all four of these women bring to the table. But just for the sake of building them up and making them look stronger, I would say the better team, at least the right team, won with Stephanie Valkyrie and Julia. Next up, we have the ambulance match with Andre Chase versus Rich Holland. Shout out to Chase U and Andre Chase, dressed up like Freddy Krueger, of course with the red and green striped sweater, along with the Freddy Krueger dunks. It's like, all right, cool. And we have, and of course, Andre Chase nearly put away Rich Holland, with his energized offense, but of course, Rich Holland powered out the ambulance, and he used the door to knock out Chase. And of course, Rich Holland finished Chase with a redeemer on the floor to set up an easy throw into the vehicle. And of course, the winner of this match, having to be reckless Rich Holland, as I like to call him. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, of course, Rich Holland came up with a unique mask while Chase was wearing Freddy Krueger colors, like I just said. And of course, they exchanged kendo stick shots until Andre Chase went out, and he had a kendo stick Russian leg sweep, and Chase reversed the Redeemer Planet Holland, the DVT on the announce table. And of course, the crowd went over chanting "We want pumpkins," and of course, they got a huge ovation when one of the stage pumpkins was used as a weapon. Of course, once again, in the end, Rich Holland prevails with the Redeemer on the floor and set up an easy throw into the vehicle. So, of course, like I said, once again, Rich Holland. And of course, You know, of course, Cedric Alexander and Javon Evans agreed to play fair in their upcoming NXT Tag Team Championship match against Nathan Frazier and Axiom, or Fraxium as they're called. But of course, next up we have the Women's North American Championship Gauntlet match: Kalani Jordan versus Fatal Influence. So of course, first Kalani Jordan took out Jasmine Nix with a 450 splash, and JC Jane had a better showing against the Women's North American Champion. But of course, Kalani caught her with a bridging pin for a surprise 3 count. And Fallon Henley took advantage of a weekend exhausted Jordan. You know, of course, getting extra help from her Fatal Influence teammates, allowing her to hit a Shining Wizard for victory. And the winner in the new, of course, Women's North American Champion is none other than Fallon Henley. Of course, Henley tried to brag afterwards, but of course, Zarya arrived to knock out the rest of Fatal Influence. The match steadily improved like an overtime after each fall. You know what I mean? So of course, like I said, of course, Jordan defeated Nix by pinfall, and Jesse James by pinfall. But of course, eventually Fallon Henley, took advantage of that to become the new NXT Women's North American Champion. So I'm not mad at Fallon Henley. Of course, dethroning Kalani. I believe so. Kalani definitely has upside, so she has more title reigns for her in the future. Either that or this could definitely be a stepping stone for Kalani to move to the next level when it comes to NXT Women's Championship. Who knows? Time to tell. And of course, last but not least, we have the NXT Championship Doubles Playground match with Trick Williams versus All Ego, All Entitlement, Ethan Page. So of course, after a pretty rough landing, Trick Williams, got the taste of his own blood for the first time. As the officials were ready to call the match. Then, of course, being the champion that he is, Trick refused to quit. Throwing called Ethan Page off with a trick shot for the win. And of course, your winner. As a matter of fact, shout out to Trick Williams coming out dressed up as Willy Wonka. Of course, Lash's nickname for him is Trick Willy Wonka. So I felt like that was only fitting. As a matter of fact, online, Lash, this is in the picture where she's wearing brown leather, and the caption says, let's see, matter of fact, the caption said, where the caption, she says, "I'm his golden ticket and chocolate factory." I was like, okay, this is definitely a Willy Wonka reference. Matter of fact, I'm going to look that up right now. Yeah, so of course, like I said, online, Lash Legend, the caption says his golden ticket and chocolate factory, and of course she even tags Trick in there and stuff like, yeah, obviously, that's who you're referring to. Like, an amazing picture. Like, side note, as I said before, Mella done miss, and neither does Trick. but of course, of course, the winner of that match and still your NXT champion, Trick Williams, Trick Willie Dynamite, Trick Willie Wonka, Trick Flair, whatever you want to call him, Trick James, if you will. And of course, afterwards, Rich Holland laid out Trick with the help of Ethan Page. But then, of course, ECW legend and WWE Hall of Famer, of course, one half of the legendary Dudley Boys, Upper W, arrived to make the save. And you could clearly tell that when it comes to Trick Williams, the Dudley Boys don't play when it comes to him. They do not play about Trick at all. The fact that Trick got the cosign, the endorsement from Devon, in that disc video, and the Bubba Ray coming in for the save. So I was like, okay, cool. On a night when much of the NXT roster, didn't really live up to much of that spotlight, Trick and Ethan were the ones who handled the platform perfectly and stood out the most. And of course, by far, the NXT Championship match was the best match on the card, by a pretty strong margin. And of course, this is definitely the ceiling. I would say this is definitely the ceiling for Trick versus Ethan as a rivalry. They haven't always had the best chemistry. Oh man, the Yankees are up 4-0 at the bottom of the second right now. But of course, like that, I'll say that this was pretty much the ceiling for their feud at this point. So they definitely did the most they could in an environment like this. But yeah, like I said, I would say that there's not much left out of that feud, but I definitely like to see what the future holds afterwards. But of course, now it is time to go to Monday Night Raw. But yeah, and of course, once again, thank you very much for those who have been watching. Like I said, by way of Twitter/X or even Facebook, and of course for those that want to watch by way of YouTube, youtube.com/Advon Wrestling Jr. But yeah, like I said, as far as that, next up we're going to go into other news from Monday Night Raw, and I don't know go with this. The matches are as advertised. LWO versus the New Day versus the War Raiders, the #1 contenders match for the tag titles. Dominic Mysterio versus a former world champion, a mystery world champion, wondering who it is. Zelina Vega versus Ivan Nile. Sheamus versus Luke Kaiser, and Seth Rollins makes his appearance. And of course, things kick off. A few shots of people arriving at the Giant Center, Hershey, Pennsylvania. Recap of Jey Uso losing the IC title. As the show went live, Jey made his way to the ring through a very excited crowd. Obviously, Jey's popularity. I mean, what else? I'm going to say main event Jey Uso. I still say he's the better Uso. Mike says Jimmy, but hey, that's neither here nor there. It's a different conversation. Jey spoke briefly before asking Jimmy to come to the ring and join him. And of course, as I said, Big Jim, Jimmy Uso thanked him for his work thanked him for what he did on SmackDown and said they need to be together to take down Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline, the team of Bloodline. So of course, Jey said that they still have a lot of stuff to fix in their relationship, especially because of like some previous issues with the OG Bloodline. But if they were going to reunite, it wouldn't be as easy as somebody else's henchman. Then Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa attacked them. Jeff Fatu soon joined them with Solo looking on from ringside. So of course things looked down for the Usos at first, but eventually turned tables and took out all three of them. Segment ended with with the brothers standing tall as Solo and his boys were sent away by Adam Pearce. But like I see, even though this feels kind of rushed, it was still a great segment though. And of course, Jace still having issues that need to be resolved. Makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how Roman and Roman interact on SmackDown. Since him and Jey reunited, so I'm just looking to see, like I said, of course, Friday is definitely going to be the litmus test, if you will, when it comes to this whole, reunite situation. I mean, so as far as that, the fact that that WWE has the need to show off the crown jewel championship, it's like at the end of every episode. It's pretty comical. But of course they wear white gloves, but they never touch the belt, which it's just like, what's the purpose of having the gloves in the first place? And that belt looks like something that you make on WWE 2K24 when you want to customize the championship. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about possibly about customizing a belt like that myself. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would buy it. I'm sure that as a matter of fact, on Monday, Mike said he would. I'm not surprised. He's a belt king anyway. Got like 14, 15 titles something. Corey, I have like 20 titles or something at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if Corey got it. I wouldn't be surprised if Dr. D got it. I might ask him one day. But yeah, like I said, as far as that belt, that definitely looks like a collector's. As far as in my immediate future, I'm not too sure because I have some other belts that I'm looking at as far as that catalog is concerned. That's not exactly the forefront right now. But hey, for those that want it, hey, look, do you. Next week we have Sheamus versus Luke Kaiser. The winner of this match is Sheamus. But of course, I definitely have to say that that Luke Kaiser has been, it's definitely very, very impressive. And of course, you can definitely see how he's increased his level of toughness. He's very reliable. He always has a great way of making his opponents better. So, of course, it's a sign of things to come. So, you never know. He could be a future Intercontinental Champion, United States Champion. Definitely look great for Kaiser in the future, especially since the Ring General Gunther has been an Intercontinental Champion himself, before the longest reigning champion, by the way, I might add. But yeah, like I said, a mid-card title would, like I said, would look great for Kaiser's resume in the future. And the announcers noted that Sheamus has had 252 televised wins in WWE. I'm going to where that ranks all the time. Then we have Ivy Nile versus Zelina Vega. Of course, Ivy Nile defeats Zelina Vega. Next, of course, you see that Sami Zayn talks backstage with Usos, especially when it comes to Jey Uso. Jimmy's not all that impressed. And of course, Sami makes pretty good points when talking to Jey backstage. The bloodline is no longer his business. But of course, I know that Sami's gotten a lot of criticism online about how he's seen as an infiltrator, how he joined the bloodline for the sake of protection from his former at the time BFF, now back together as BFF Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? Like how Sami Zayn, had clung on, had held onto the bloodline for the sake of relevancy, for the sake of for the sake of protection from KO, to the point where Sami even Aaron Judge is 6'7", that's insane. But yeah, like I said, of course, for the fact that Sami even turned on his best friend at Survivor Series, just for the sake of for the sake of proving his worth. Talking about how Jey Uso, did all this stuff for Roman, for the sake of trying to prove his mettle. But Sami ain't too different from that. Like to the point where he even backstabbed his BFF, all for the sake of the bloodline, only to build tension, sort of division within the bloodline. And then when it was time for him to make that break, when it was most convenient for him, he ends up leaving and ends up ends up turning on Roman and turning on the bloodline, and talking about when to destroy the bloodline himself, and destroying it from within, and then teaming up with KO to take the belts off of themselves. It's just like Sami's definitely an infiltrator. The North remembers that we've seen in Game of Thrones. But yeah, of course, later on, we also saw, showed Jey and Jimmy from a distance, seeing Sami have a conversation with Solo. So I'm wondering what that's all about. And of course, pretty much this WWE's later, we probably know that Sami's not really needed in the bloodline. It's more so family business. And Sami, was there to be the honorary goose. Kind of like pretty much comparing him to what Owen was in the Nation Domination type of thing. But of course, that's neither here nor there. Of course, by the way, shout out to R-Truth for the way he slapped Miz. I thought that was hilarious. And speaking of that, we have New Day versus the War Raiders versus the LWO. But before that, we have Seth Rollins come out to deliver a promo about his upcoming match against Bronson Reed. Of course, the big man called him out to the parking lot for a fight. The camera follows Rollins, the visionary, from the arena to the parking lot, where Bronson Reed started fighting. And Rollins ended up stomping Reed on the car with the curb stomp. But of course, Bronson was back up a moment later and put Rollins through a few tables with a Death Valley driver. So this is definitely giving shades of like Vader versus Sting, if you will, if not Vader versus Shawn Michaels type of thing. And of course, you can definitely tell that Bronson Reed is greatly influenced by the likes of Vader. You know what I mean? And so I could definitely see that. But of course, after that, the next match we saw Three teams compete for a shot at the Judgment Day titles. That was, of course, the New Day versus the War Raiders versus the LWO. Of course, featuring Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Eric Ivar, Rey Mysterio, and Dragon Lee. We're all looking to get one step closer to the goal. Then, of course, we saw Dragon Lee, Ivar, and Kofi start the match. So, of course, two of the High Flyers in that scenario teamed up against Ivar, and before Kofi rolled Dragon Lee for near fall, and of course triple threat tag match. So it was, pretty much chaos and fun. Because a member from each team was always legal, like fatal four ways. Only two competitors are legal at once. So of course Xavier Woods started resorting to some dirty tactics and attempted to win. He got booed by the crowd, which seemed to be upset with him. They were not happy about that at all. And Kofi tagged in and hit a bad one to everybody, but then back in the driver's seat. And so of course, of course, at the end of the day, of course, we saw Chad Gable show up and pull Rey Mysterio out the ring with an ankle lock, paving the way for the War Raiders to pin Kofi for the victory. So, of course, your winners of this triple threat tag match, and the number one contenders are the War Raiders. And so we started to see even more tension build up when it comes to the New Day, as we saw Kofi and Xavier arguing backstage as The Miz got on his bus, only to get captured by the Riot Six, and of course nobody cared about that. It's like whatever, And then of course we have Dominic Mysterio versus Mystery World Champion ends up, of course the mystery opponent ends up being Damian Priest. Then he actually wrestled Dirty Dom X, wrestled Judgment Day to stay backstage and prove he could defeat him. And pretty much turned out how you expect. Dom tried to cheat while Priest used his size and power advantage to dominate whenever possible. So of course, very surprised. Surprised turn of events. Dominic Mysterio defeats Damian Priest. But of course, predictably, the rest of Judgment Day showed up and interfered while distracting the ref. And Priest fought back with a steel chair, but of course, Dirty Dom opened up a handful of tights to steal the win. And then, of course, afterwards, Damien grabbed Dominic and hit him with the Razor's Edge, before hit him several times with the chair. But it's just like, it's kind of like whatever. And there was also an interaction between Bianca and Jade, along with face to face with Liv and Raquel, and so of course Liv was talking about how Bianca and Jade have their hands full in a fatal four-way women's tag match and period by a miracle. Then they have to go face to face with with Liv and Raquel, and I like how Bianca turned the tables on him and saying that of course how Liv's got her hands full with Nia. If she's able to win by way of miracle, then she's gonna have to deal with them as the tag team champions, whatever. It may sound like okay, I guess I'm paraphrasing if you will, but yeah, like I said, as far as that. I would say that the biggest highlight of this, was the way the Usos reunited, above all else. And so, of course, the Judgment Day storyline continues to drag on. It's just pretty much like, it's like whatever. Then next up, we have the NXT After Halloween Havoc. But, so first off, we have a casket match with Wendy Chu versus Taylor Paxley. And the winner, of course, by way of closing the casket, ends up being Taylor Paxley. And shout out to Wendy Chu for dressed up like Sally from the Nightmare Before Christmas. So of course, pretty nice one for Taylor Paxley. Needs consistent push. from the spot. So she's definitely outperformed the spot for a while. Has earned a title program, or at least a call up soon at this point. Then next up, Ray Dudley tells Trick Williams that they need to find his own friend. But, of course, things are very exciting. Trick Williams, called up Ray Dudley to explain that they beat out Rich Holland for the way he disrespected him. And of course, Rich was definitely talking reckless to Bubba Ray, saying he could end up being in the hospital or whatever the case was. Just saying they go back and watch all the ECW footage of him in his heyday and type of stuff like that. And just Rich was just talking reckless, just being disrespectful. And then of course, Bridge and Ethan attacked Bubba Ray, only for Trick Williams to come out and make a save. So of course, like Trick was definitely fanning out, fanboy of Bubba Ray, and it just had a dream of teaming up with the ECW legend at the ECW arena in Philadelphia, and of course, Bubba initially kind of like played on with it, saying saying you love just love for one more time to get back into the ring, possibly put on camouflage or even a tie dye, and of course, having the opportunity to have the opportunity to say Trick, get the tables, and like I said, just call back to old school Dudley boys. And while all that sounded great, and of course, Trick was glad to stand face to face with Bubba after calling the busted open radio. So now he's had the chance to meet someone who's a fan of for a long time. And of course, like I said, Bubba Ray was trying to reminisce. He was like, I appreciate it, but I have to say no. And so Bubba was saying that he didn't want to take up the spotlight from anybody else. And so, of course, he put over Trick and then he told the champion he needed to find a friend who could watch his back. So an important angle for the NXT champion that ramifications beyond the show next week. So of course, Bubba told Trick he has no friends because he's an NXT champion. It's like saying it's like it's a giant target, a bullseye on his chest. I like how they threw out all the classic W catchphrases and things like that. And even with Bubba putting on glasses and call for the tables. And of course, afterwards we saw Ava talking with RVD about competing next week in the 2300 arena in Philadelphia, promised to book him something special. So since Bubba turned that down, I figured the next best one would probably be RVD. Then Tony D'Angelo got a call from Nunzio from as part of ECW's full-blood Italian to him that he was stepping into his territory in Philly next week. Then we have the Heritage Cup Championship match with Charlie Dempsey versus Lexis King. And the winner of that match, we have 2 straight pinfalls. Of course, was none other than Charlie Dempsey. And so of course, like I said, of course, Charlie Dempsey dominated throughout the match, and Rico's influence is pretty minimal. But of course, I figured that Dempsey was going to still be the Heritage Cup champion. Of course, Lola Vice delivered a pre-tape winner to Jada Parker that she beat her in their hardcore match next week. Of course, Jada Parker responded with their own one, and I love that video the recent video that Jada put out. Then we have Zarya versus Brandy Reese. Zarya wins by way of pinfall. So as far as that, I'm not going to call Zarya and Vakir, Cedric Vakir, whatever. I'm not going to call them the 4 horsemen. You definitely got that twisted because only one group of 4 horsemen. So of course, it goes Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley. Call her Mercedes all she wants to, but as far as I'm concerned, I still recognize her Sasha. But like I said, those are the only 4 horsemen, because they've already set that standard, raised the bar. Like I said, they've been the groundbreakers, for years and years to come. They set a huge foundation when it comes to women's wrestling. Then we have Kalani Jordan versus Nikki Lyons. Kalani Jordan wins by way of pinfall. You know, so pretty much as far as that. Then we have Rich Holland and Ethan Page. Rich Holland and Ethan Page make Bubba Ray change his mind. And so, as Trick, like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself as far as segments being like, of course, like I said, first off, Bubba turned him down, and then Rich Holland interrupted Ethan Page to call a shot for NXT Championship. Bubba took offense to Rich Holland's taunt and came out to the ring, and then of course, one half of the Dudley Boys, WWE Hall of Fame, tried to talk sense into Reckless Ridge, but the Hills and the team up on him, and that's when Trick made the save, and Bubba officially agreed to team with Trick for NXT next week's match. But yeah, as far as that, and then of course, last but not least, with the NXT Tag Team Championship match, Fraxian versus Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander, and of course, Fraxian defeat Evans and Alexander by pinfall to retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. And of course, Javon Evans definitely has a huge future lined up ahead of him. You know what I mean? So he constantly impresses. Like I said, I expect nothing less from a guy like that. So I definitely like the way I definitely like this follow up to Halloween Havoc. So I'd say that the strongest points of Halloween Havoc is definitely the NXT Championship match, and Trick Williams is definitely been an MVP right now when it comes to NXT. Of course, as far as I'm concerned. So, also another thing I want to talk about is this news. This news about Vince McMahon potentially starting a new company, apparently an entertainment company. Knowing what we know about him and his escapades, if you will, sexcapades, from these allegations and what we've seen in the documentary, I wouldn't be surprised if Vince has a company called Only Wrestlers. I guess it's on wrestling version of OnlyFans. Since that's what he's so much into anyway. Freak nasty, Vince McNasty. Like I said, I would not be surprised if that's the route that he goes. He ends up having a company called Only Wrestlers out, and it's typical Vince anyway. So I would not expect anything less from him. So that's all I have to say about that. But also just like, dude, give it up already. Give it up already. Anything outside of WWE with Vince's track record, it's a thumbs down. WBF, XFL, just leave it alone. Just let it go. The Yankees are crushing the Dodgers right now. Dang, 5-0 in the bottom of the third. But yeah, as far as that, it's like, do you really want to see more of Vince after this whole thing went down? I don't like to speak for anybody else, but I speak for myself. And thanks, but no thanks. I'm good on that. Just like how online I saw that, so on Twitter I saw that the Undertaker posted, the December dates for his WWE one man show thing, whatever. I'm like, nah, dude. No thank you. Especially after you had Orange Adolph on the podcast, which is very disheartening, very disappointing. And of course you post that right off the heels of like someone like that, but of course that right after the heels of the guy that you align yourself with, right after the heels of that New York Nazi parade, the New York Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden, of course Trump rally, Undertaker's crowd anyway. So kind of surprised Taker didn't make that trip to the Big Apple. Hogan definitely did, struggling to rip off that shirt, which is comical. Like, dude, give it up, it's over. I think I already said all I can say about Undertaker right now. There's a mark at this point right now. Artist formerly known as Undertaker. I can't. I need to just leave that alone right now. I need to just get my mind off that because that's just too freaking depressing right now. Yeah. So anyway, of course, and at least on a lighter note, WWE has announced that they will sponsor independent wrestling, independent like develop have this type of like independent developmental program that you call WWE ID, and so so of course, see, now apparently they're going to be partnering with you with indie promotions and indie wrestlers. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, cool. And of course, I know that there are a lot of people who are very, a lot of people are very apprehensive of that, considering WWE's track record of the way that the way that they've taken over other companies and territories, put them out of business, and then of course just pretty much make a mockery of some of the top talent, top stars, or devalue them and things like that. And so as far as that, so now it's called WWE ID, and I was like, okay, so I was like, all right, cool. Like I said, it's officially going to be called WWE ID, and so what it is what's going to be it's going to do a lot with when it comes to like WWE. Let's see. But yeah, like see, of course, it's definitely going to be it's going to be like this program. It's going to help with WWE's independent development. So they're going to be partnering with independent prospects, and they're going to be in the performance center as well. So it's going to be WWE ID independent development. So I'm pretty sure that's going to have a lot to do with any wrestlers, either still in like a lot of NIL stuff that they've been doing as well. So of course, WWE definitely must have their hand in the indie developmental pool, if you will. And so I'm definitely very intrigued to see how this plays out. At least in that aspect. So I have covered that part. Of course, another thing I want to talk about is going to Crown Jewel, if you will, match card. And so, this match card so far. Matches that we have been confirmed. Excuse me. The Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4 match. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Metaphor, Lash Legend Jakara Jackson versus Damage Control, Sky and Kairi Sane. The next up, we have the United States Championship match, LA Knight versus Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes in a triple threat match. Then we have Randy Keith Orton versus Kevin Owens. We have Seth freaking Rollins versus Bronson Reed. We have Roman and the Usos versus the Bloodline to plant even more seeds for this Bloodline War Games, fiasco scenario that we got going on. We have the Women's Crown Jewel Championship match with Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan. And last but not least, we have the WWE Crown Jewel Championship match, of course, for the men with Cody Rhodes versus the Reign General Gunther. So my predictions. Say for the Women's Tag Championship match, we have Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill retaining miraculously. For the United States Championship, I would like to see Carmelo Hayes becoming the champion. For Orton versus KO, I have to go with my man Randy. Seth freaking Rollins versus Bronson Reed. That's gonna be good. That's a tough one right there. I might have to go with Bronson on that one, just to make himself look stronger. Then we have Roman and the Usos versus the Team Bloodline. I'm going with Roman and the Usos. Then we have the Women's Crown Jewel Championship match. Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan. I got Nia winning that. Then when it comes to the Crown Jewel Championship for the men, I want to say Cody, but also I definitely want to see the Ring General add to his resume. So from that aspect, man, it's tough. I want to say Gunther, but I'm thinking that Cody's going to. I think that Cody may walk away as the victor on that. So, if anything, if anything, those are my predictions when it comes to Crown Jewel. Crown Jewels, as I like to say. And then next up, talk about Halloween Havoc, it's the company, WID. And now, last but not least, I got to go into this Sports Illustrated list that came across my timeline that I definitely want to sort of share my thoughts about. Sports Illustrated, matter of fact, this came across my timeline over the weekend, and I got to address it. Of course, I'm pretty much have a thing about lists as I've done one myself, of course. A number of lists, by the way. I think I need to do a better job when it comes to some of the most recent lists I've done on episodes as well. But anyway, Sports Illustrated, they've done their fair share of WWE coverage. Back in 2016, they had the atrocious 101 greatest wrestlers list. They're quote unquote definitive ranking, which I highly doubt because if that's definitive, that's some BS. But Sports Illustrated narrowed down their list to 20, the top 20 WWE wrestlers of all time. So the criteria primarily is about what you have done within the walls of WWE. So spoiler alert, there's no Ric Flair on this list. It's it, right? Certainly no Dusty either, because when you think about Harley Race, forget about that. Because one thing that all three of them have in common is that their best years were outside the WWE. Out of those three, the one who's had the most success in WWE obviously was Flair, because he was a two-time, WWE champion. Flair was a two-time WWE champion. That late 91, 92, early 93 run, that was his best run of the company. He was a two-time WWE champion, the Royal Rumble winner, and then of course later on he returned, in his 50s. Of course, he was part of Evolution. He was a tag champion, a Continental champion, but those were his twilight years. Flair's greatest work was in NWA/WCW, anything outside WWE. So, rundown, that's the reason why Flair's not on there. Dusty's obviously because he's mainly known for polka dots, and so that ain't gonna fly. Harley Race was only King Harley Race, and that was like I said, super duper twilight years for him. So you can definitely forget about that with him. So anyway, laying the groundwork for that, getting those particulars out the way. So once again, like I said, this is about the best years in WWE. So here's the list. At number 20, Becky Lynch, the only woman to crack the top 20. Like I said, the only woman to crack this list. Top 20. If you want to have a diversity quota, have women on there. There you have it with Becky. In large part because of her run as the man, Becky 316, things like that. Personally, I probably would pick Charlotte or Trish Stratus, to be honest. But anyway, like I said, number 20 is Becky. Number 19 is Mick Foley. 18, Chris Jericho. Like I said, 20, Becky Lynch. 19, Mick Foley. 18, Chris Jericho. 17, CM Punk. 16, Andre the Giant. 15, Randy Orton. 14, Edge. 13, Roddy Piper. 12, Kurt Angle. 11, Randy Macho Man Savage. Number 10, Bruno Sammartino. Number 9, Bret Hart. Number 8, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Number 7, The Game, Triple H. Number 6, The Undertaker. Number 5, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Number 4, John Cena. Number 3, the Great One, The Rock. Number 2, HH. Hogan, and number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that is your top 20. Austin, I've had him as number 1 before, so it's like a no-brainer, like a slam dunk at this point. So, but of course, like this is the last thing I'll talk about is of course, as time kind of winds down, but the list is pretty solid. I would disagree with some of the rankings. I'll probably take Foley out. Well, place him with, that's kind of a tough one. Probably Rey Mysterio at least. As far as that, if not Brock Lesnar, but of course Becky, right, replace her with Charlotte and Trish. Maxine Mick Foley, right now. I'm not too sure about if there's anybody right now, but replacing with Rey Mysterio. Chris Jericho, number 18, whatever. Punk at 17, I might switch Jericho and Punk. Andre, I might move him a little bit higher. Randy Orton definitely needs to be higher. I would swap Orton and Edge. Orton's definitely eclipsed Edge when it comes to the WWE career. Edge is they're higher than Orton mainly because of nostalgia, but we're looking at stats. If we're looking at eye tests for what we've seen in the ring, we're looking at body of work. Orton has eclipsed him. He's been a 14-time champion. He's been a stronger champion as well. I'll say he's been a better Intercontinental champion than Edge was. The only advantage I would give Edge was really tag titles. But for everything else, Orton has become, his legacy is more ironclad than Edge. Even when it comes to being Cena's greatest rival. So at least that's my estimation. So I'll move Orton above Edge. I even say I move him ahead of Piper. Kurt Angle, not too bad. He has a case for being top 10. Savage has a case for being top 10. So of course, Bruno is there because he's been champion for a combined 12 years over the course of 2 WWE championships, championship reigns. He was the face of the company for a very long time. So of course he's there when it comes to that type of merit. So once again, I put Andre ahead of Piper. I put Orton ahead of Piper. If you want to put Piper ahead of Jericho or something, like whatever. But yeah, like I said, it's when it comes to that, like that, Bruno, top 10, whatever. Pretty much itself that type of value. Brett, I will move up. Shawn, I definitely move up. I moved both of them ahead of Triple H. Taker being 6, I'd probably swap him and Roman. Just because it'd be, but then again, with Taker's perception, it's just like, I ain't too mad at that. Roman, like I said, when you look at Roman's WWE career, especially with what he's done as the face of the company, as the tribal chief, this is the greatest run of his entire career. And for him being one of the longest reigning champions, top 5 longest reigning WWE champions of all time, countless WrestleMania, countless WrestleMania main events and headlines and things like that, and just what he's done as a top draw speaks for itself. He's definitely in that conversation. He's definitely in elite territory at this point. So Roman between 5 and 6, I'm not mad about that. John Cena, his career speaks for himself. I would move Rock past Hogan. I'd probably even, like I said, as much as I'm not a fan of this guy right now, I'd probably even put Taker past Hogan at this point. I think just because of the ravages of time, Hogan's perception right now, and just he's got way too many red X's on his name right now. It's just like, his brand is definitely taking major hits. So I would not have put Hogan ahead of The Rock because The Rock has transcended wrestling far more than Hogan. He's eclipsed him in that aspect. So like I said, as far as 2 and 1, it definitely be Rock and Austin. so, like I say, I'll take a look at this list again, and I may have my own version of the top 20 coming up pretty soon. But yeah, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, they did much better than the 2016 list. There's some tweaks that I would make with this list. Other than that, not too much, to really complain about it, whatever. But like I say, if anything, that concludes tonight's episode. And so, without further ado, I definitely want to give birthday shout outs. Of course, October 29th, Gabrielle Union turned 52. Side note, that Dwayne Wade statue not get a thing of thumbs down. I'm sorry. I meant to bring that up as well. Like I said, Gabrielle Union turned 52 on October 29th. October 30th, of course, WWE Hall of Famer Adam Copeland, also known as the Radar Superstar Edge, turns 51. And of course, Ashley Graham, supermodel, turns 37. Nia Long turns 54. Of course, on the same day, gospel legend Derek Holywood turns 69. November 1st, Bobby Heenan will turn 80. There's got to be a birthday on October 31st as well. I feel as though there's got to be somebody that October 31st October 31st birthday. But yeah, pretty much. Matter of fact, it's pretty much like I said. That's about it. And also, matter of fact, let me see. Henry Winkler, Fonz, also turns 79 on October 30th. So of course, those are the birthdays for let's see, of course, those are the birthdays for this week. And so, of course, before I go, I would definitely like to give a word of wisdom, and that is for our lives and our conducts to imitate God, and also let's see, also just live with a thankful heart to be thankful for what God, for what God has given us, and also to let things go that hinder us from being imitators of Christ. And so of course that's really what it is ultimately at the end of the day. And of course once again, I definitely want to say you are victorious because greater is He that's in you than He that's in the world. When you put God in first place, you don't have to worry about being in last place. And please make sure to listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else that you download podcasts. And of course, thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And may this day be the very best day of your life. Thank you very much. Have a great